Look, when it comes to health and fitness, you probably know the following. It includes diet, exercise, and now many of us know it includes sleep. But there's one component that many of us miss. In fact, the data shows this may in fact be one of the most important components when it comes to health, especially mental health. Relationships, the relationships with the people around you, real relationships. This is probably why anxiety and depression are on the rise. We're replacing real relationships with fake ones made online. So if you are serious about your health and fitness, this has to be something that you work towards. It takes work, just like your fitness, just like your diet, and just like your sleep. You got to pay attention to it.
Isn't this really just a new version of when that guy had that like Olin Mills pic of his girlfriend that lives in Canada?
Fake one.
Dude, it's my girlfriend.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Everybody had that friend in school that had a girlfriend in Canada.
Just hypes her up.
I think this might be one of your most underrated tips because I know you positioned it as a health thing related to like health and fitness, but I also think that it's one of the most important hacks to being successful in life all around.
It's the most.
Like, forget just it's going to make you a healthy, better person for having relationships like this, just because we are social creatures. But I attribute a lot of the success that I've had in my life based off of the relationships that I've built my entire life. And it's one of those slow things that you do. Like, it's not like everybody you build a relationship with ends up being fulfilling or doesn't, of course you're going to get some that end up, every time you take a few steps forward, you take a step back on one that you probably shouldn't build a relationship with. But the benefits of seeking relationships and friendships, especially with people that are encouraging you to be a better version of yourself, whether that be through they're doing more or doing things in their life that you want to, or whether that be mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. I just think that this is something that isn't talked about enough, nor is it discussed too. Like, how do you do that? Like it's like it's easy like to say, like,
right.
Oh yeah, relationship, but it's like, believe it or not, we live in this interesting time where I've said that to some people and they're like, well, how do you do that?
I know. So I was thinking a lot about this last night because I was looking at data that revolves around anxiety and depression, which everybody knows it's going up. It's going up. It's getting worse. It's reaching levels that we really haven't seen except for maybe during like extreme wartime, when, a lot of the population is dying in war or starving or something. It's like, what is going on? And I'm looking at just kind of the landscape. And of course I like to compare things to the, places of expertise that I have, like diet and exercise. And, we did this with diet, right? We took food and we highlighted and then emphasized and then worshiped this kind of hedonistic pleasure you get from it, and then discarded everything else. And that resulted in terrible health. It's just terrible health now as a result of this. This is what we've done with relationships. We've taken the work out of relationships and just tried to make it about the dopamine hits and the likes and the comments and the texting, which the data shows this doesn't do the same thing. Like, you text somebody. I saw this for parents, by the way. When you are texting with your kid, they don't get the same serotonin, the same oxytocin. They don't get the same connection. So you're like, hey, how you doing, buddy, with a text. It's not the same thing as them hearing your voice. And that's not the same thing as them seeing you in person. And I thought about this, like, wow, you can meet people online so easily. You could throw out a comment. You could find people that agree with you super easily. There's no work. Real relationships. If I ask you guys, the most meaningful relationships you have in your lives are ones that you put time.
It's physical.
You put time and effort into, and you prioritize them. And so I think that's why people are like, well, what does that look like? Well, it's like, well, how do I get fit? Well, you got to prioritize it and work on it and sacrifice certain things for the value of fitness. Relationships are the same thing. You have to make time. Like, I can't have a relationship with you, like a good one, unless me and you spend time together, unless I sacrifice, some of myself for you, for the things that you may need, and vice versa. Relationships help you self-reflect. Okay, well, Am I being a jerk? Why am I rubbing people the wrong way? Right? Where I can go online and just forget that. I'll just find a bunch of people that blow smoke up my, you know what. So it's something that is totally going downhill. And what's replacing it is ultra processed relationships, essentially. So especially you see this with kids. So the explosion of anxiety and depression is the most stark among adolescent, and teenagers and people in their 20s. And what's happened is they're replacing relationships where we used to have to go out and talk and meet with people and go through all the challenges and the rejection and all that stuff, which is all part of it. And they're replacing it with online social media, video games online with your buddies type of deal. And the result of that is, you're drinking seawater. It's water, but it ain't going to quench your thirst. Today's giveaway is Maps Aesthetic. To enter to win, leave a comment below this video in the first 24 hours that we drop it. Subscribe to this channel and then turn on notifications. If you win, we'll let you know in the comment section. Also, 3 days left for the June sale. Only 3 days. Ready? Maps 15, half off. The bikini bundle of programs, half off. And the shredded summer bundle of programs, also half off. If you are interested, click on the link at the top of the description below. All right, here comes the show.
I mean, there's something definitely about body language that just, I think that I wish there was like a huge study about this, about like how much you actually convey with somebody when you're sitting with them in a room. And it's like you're reading them, they're reading you, like you're getting real feedback from one of your good friends. Like they're going to be able to see like, maybe you're a little agitated, maybe you're a little depressed, like maybe you have like some underlying thing that you're not going to immediately unveil or like convey. But spending that amount of time with you pick up on these things, and then you're able to kind of peer in and get a little more insight, and be able to have a more honest, authentic conversation. You can't have that just, sending text or like, having some kind of like direct message, interaction with somebody, even like, video on your phone. It's just, you're just not going to have that kind of intimacy.
Do you think there's an art to that? Is it a skill that can be developed? Is it innate in all of us? Like the ability to go and build relationships like that? Because again, the pushback I always get when I talk about something like this is the hows, like tactically, like how do you go do that? And I think it starts early, and I think the longer you wait, the more difficult it becomes. For example, like when I have a conversation like this and I'm talking to our peer, somebody our age, and they're trying to figure this out, it's even harder for the 40-year-old to go do this than it is the 15-year-old, right? 15-year-old, it's really simple to I'd
say even men too.
Well, yeah, because and what ends up happening too a lot of times is, these are other entrepreneurs that are trying to build a business. They understand the value of networking and building relationships, and so they decide, hey, I've waited 40 years. I'm finally going to go try and do this. And then they obviously want to become friends with these influential or powerful or great people. And the unfortunate part is by that time, that person, especially if they're powerful, influential, they have already a lot of friends in their circle. And here you are, you've decided like, oh, I finally get it. It's important to have relationships and build these and stuff like that. I'm going to try and insert myself into that or build that relationship. And they get lost on like how to do that.
I think it's both. Of course, there's going to be people who are more gifted naturally at building relationships with people and being vulnerable. I think that's a big part of it. But then it's a skill. Like if any of us in this room, and I consider all of us pretty social, I would say, if all of us grew up isolated our entire lives, and then you were just put out, at our age now, you would be awkward and weird and afraid, and I don't know what or who or. So it's a skill, and it takes work. It takes work because I'll give you an example. Like I got kids, right? So I'm a dad. I got 2 little kids, 2 teenage kids, and getting out of the house, meeting with other people, inviting people over, it's a pain in the ass. You got to get the little ones together. You got all the kinds of stuff. I mean, for people with little kids, it's ridiculous. When you first have a kid, you're like, where are we going? We're going to someone's house. Why am I taking 15 bags, especially if you spend the night somewhere? You can't believe how much stuff you have to take. It's just a pain in the butt, and the kids don't want to go. Then you got your teenagers, they got that, they roll their eyes, they just want to stay home, whatever. Then you finally get there, And then you hang out, whatever. And then you gotta clean things up, get home, get the kids to bed. And so it's easy for you to be like, let's just not go. Let's just not do that thing. And everything in the world now is geared towards taking all of that away. Like I can order food, I can watch endless amounts of entertainment. I can just text somebody. I can isolate myself pretty effectively and get all the stuff that I think that I need. Whereas in the past, I think it was just baked into society. Oh, we got to go to the grocery store. Got to go. And then I'm going to see the butcher and the person that I know. And there's my neighbor outside and whatever. So it takes work and you have to do it. And it is a pain in the butt, but it's so worth it. And if you don't do it, it's like we talked about this in an earlier podcast. I think it's a slow boil. Before you know it, you're isolated. You're not making lots of connections. You don't have good relationships, especially for kids now. It's like so hard for kids now because I know you made the argument. It's harder for, it can be hard for a grown man. Kids naturally are self-conscious, insecure, afraid of rejection. Like everybody's afraid of rejection, but 45-year-old me, like if I go talk to someone, they reject me, I'm like, whatever. It doesn't ruin my freaking week, right? 14-year-old me, that might ruin my week. I go talk to a girl or someone or some dude says something to me and I kind of feel insecure. But now, when we were kids, we took this for granted. You're at home, you got nothing to do. There's literally nothing to do. So I have to go outside. I have to meet with people. I got to take the risk of being rejected. I got to go talk to that girl. I got to go try and hang out with that group of guys over there and figure that out. But you learn these skills and you build relationships. And it's made the world, just again, made this point before. The world is so well organized to keep you unhealthy. It's insane. Like if you follow the world, you'll be fat, you'll be depressed, you'll be anxious, you'll have poor spiritual health because everything's geared around removing those things. Like it's like, here's your easy food. Here, sit down all day long. Yeah. Here, you don't need to go talk to people. In fact, you can have it sent to you. You don't need to connect with anybody. You don't need to suffer rejection. You want to date people? Here's a dating app. You could swipe back and forth through endless amounts of people or whatever. And so what we're suffering from, it became very clear to me last night. I looked at this and said, oh my God, this is all the result of people not having relationships. All this anxiety and depression that people are experiencing is because we're replacing it with heavily processed relationships, fake garbage. And what that means is, just like today, right? You go to my grandfather's generation. If I went back in time, in fact, I was hanging out with my grandma last night and I was having great conversations with her. She's 87 years old. And it's so funny. Like if I went back then and I told people, you need to go be active, they'd be like, what are you talking about? I am active all day. I go up into the hills and I go farm and then I got to, wash clothes, my hands or whatever. Today, you have to make time to be active. It's just the way the world is designed. Today, you have to make time to build relationships because it won't happen naturally. It's just not.
So what are some of the common mistakes that you see people make that hear your point, that want that, but struggle to do that? Right. So it's like, okay, I've got the time. I'm allotting 4 hours. Like, what are the mistakes? Because this is what I keep hearing when
I can tell you what my mistakes were. Or are giving up too early. So like, we go to church every Sunday now, but it's only been about maybe 5 months of consistency. The first 3 months, I definitely get a lot of spiritual value out of going. Okay. Don't get me wrong, but it's a pain. It was a pain in the butt. I got 2 little kids. They don't want to sit through the thing. Got to walk outside with them. It's like, get them up early. Then we get home. Uh-oh, baby fell asleep in the car, ruined a nap. And so for the first 3 months, it was like work. But then you get better at it. You start making friends there. And now I could have very easily let that make me go, you know what? Let's just watch it on the TV. Let's watch it online. Let's not go. I can only imagine how many people go out and try and then they give up early. It's just too hard. It's not working. That's at least what happened with me. I don't know. Do you have any common ones for?
I mean, I think we're interesting creatures. How when sometimes and I see this with people that I think just lack social awareness. Like nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So I just think that's such a really powerful quote because when you get to know somebody, if you are trying to quote unquote build a relationship with them, and your way of doing that is talking about yourself. And you know what I'm saying? Whether that be bragging or just talking about your day and your things like that. It's like, to me, like one of the quickest ways to not build a relationship with somebody. I mean, how many times have you met somebody like that where you meet them, and then like
Don't you feel like they're trying to like sell themselves as a
yeah,
friend?
that's what I exactly.
Hey, hang out with
and I
me.
think this is I think this is a common mistake.
They're just
I think,
comfortable doing that too.
I think that people are like, okay, I'm gonna go try and meet this Justin guy. He seems really cool. I'm gonna go over and I introduce myself, and then like I go right into like selling myself.
Bro, it took me a year to get Justin to like me. First, at least a year before he started liking me.
But you know what I'm saying? Like they go into it with this like
Yeah.
like they're presenting or like versus just asking about the other person.
Be curious.
And be yes. And so I used to teach this with my trainers, right? So all of what we're talking about also plays right into effective communication / sales,
Yeah.
right? And so I was challenged with this conversation a lot. So I've spoken about this a ton to coaches and trainers, trying to get them to be more social, to build relations, to do that. And what I had distilled it down to was this like very basic thing that I had them do, which was like they carried these little journals around, and I'd say, hey, listen, your goal today is to meet 5 people and learn 1 to 2 things about them. Like instead of like, I had to break it all the way down to that, because trying to like talk about different types of closing skills and leading them to a sale, and oh boy, that was just way too much. It's like, oh my God, we have to start at the very beginning here. Like, how do you talk to people? Like, how do you meet people? How do you get somebody to even like you?
Yeah.
Like, and so what it looked like was, here, this is what we're going to start at. All I want you to do is this, is go get 5 names. Of those 5 names, learn 1 or 2 facts about them. Walk away. Don't over talk. I don't want you fucking talking to them for 10, 15 minutes. You don't have that skill yet.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is your job. And what they would do is they'd go do that. They'd learn 1 or 2 things. They say, okay, now when you see Susan in the gym again, go ask her about her tennis lessons, how they went last week, and that's it. And then we come back.
And that's work.
Yeah.
It's work. I gotta say this, knowing what I know of you guys, I bet I could tell you, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think I could predict the things that made you guys, both you guys, good at meeting people and developing relationships, things that happen in your life. I know what happened for me, which was just I have a big family. I have a huge family. And so it's like baked into how I grew up, right? But Justin, probably sports, and then when you moved away.
Yep.
Right? When you left for college.
Yeah.
Because you were forced to figure it out.
That's it. Yeah. I put myself in that environment where I had to work my way through it. And that's kind of, I guess for me personally, that's kind of what I've done in any aspect where I'm like, I need to grow here,? And so I had to like just immerse myself, just jump in, and like same thing when I came back out here and like trying to figure out like, how can I do this for a living? How can I be a personal trainer? I have to get better at this small talk thing. Like my go-to is like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really care about all this like surface stuff. Like I had friends, but they were like really good friends. And there was like maybe like there's like 5 people I could say. Usually I like ran around with like maybe 2 other guys, and we'd have like a group of 3, pretty much like what we do here. It's like been sort of the recipe for me. And I'm very social, but at the same time, my go-to is to be kind of introverted and like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing.
Now, when you moved off to Chicago, you had to move out of that though, because you didn't have anybody over there, right?
Nobody.
So what'd you do?
Start
Did you just
all
go
over
put
again.
yourself into new groups and?
Yeah, I mean, it helped being on a team, obviously, because it's like we're all kind of working towards a goal together. We're working out together. We're interacting together. Hey, what are you doing tonight for dinner? Like that kind of thing. So it was a little bit easier of a transition for me, but it was still like I had to build a relationship 1 person at a time. And like by the time I left college, I had like 50, 100 something friends of just like, really good friends. But then I left, came back here, and it's like I had
start over
4 friends again.
Yeah. And then Adam, for you moved around a lot.
Yeah.
You had to figure it out.
You had to start over many times as a kid.
Yeah. Imagine if it was super easy for you guys in those situations to not, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where you just didn't have to.
Yeah, it's an interesting exercise to think like, man, what if I had iPhones? Back when I was like,
it's so scary to go out in a new neighborhood,
a brand new kid in a new school in a new town, and
especially
it's like
if you're getting picked on or bullied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's be interesting to see. It's like obviously it's really easy for me to say like I know how it played out for me, but what if I had this powerful iPhone tool that I could easily have just immersed myself in and distracted myself from it? I don't know. I think I always craved a social connection. Like I was the kid who My sister and I, who are a year apart, when my parents used to ground us, right, if we were in trouble for whatever, my sister would get the same grounding. We both, you're grounded to your room today. You can't do anything. You can't play. My sister would be fine. She played with her dolls all day long, and she looked happier in her room, doing that, where it was torturous for me. Like to hear kids playing outside and I had to be in my room. I mean, I would cry and I would throw a fit because it was just torturous. So I think I had a natural craving for social connection.
I could have very easily isolated because I love to read. I could immerse myself in a subject. But I had such a big family that was always around that is what helped me, develop. But I would be the kid now if I had the internet where it'd be very easy for me to just learn by myself and not go out and meet people because I could see that in myself, but because of my family again. Mm-hmm. But I got to tell you guys, speaking of socially or whatever, I got young men today are pretty comfortable saying things that I never would have been comfortable saying to men when I was younger. I had a guy come up to me, literally young dude, probably in his 20s. And he goes, man, I got to tell you, bro, you look great. I'm like, what? And he goes, and then he follows it up with even more strangeness. You have really good skin.
Wow.
And I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And then he walked off and I texted my wife and I'm like, I just had a dude.
Should we hug now?
No.
Now, do you
I said, I just had a dude tell me I have really nice skin. And she's like, did you sell him Caldera? I'm like, oh.
So I wonder.
I got taken off guard.
So I wonder, though, if that's why, though. I wonder if someone's seen you in a skin commercial and then they say that's their way of saying that.
So I have a follow-up. So I texted my wife and she goes, and so she said that. What if he's a fan of the show?
Yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's weird, right? Who would do that? So I went up to him afterwards and I'm like, do you listen to podcasts? And he goes, yeah, I do. And I'm like, have you heard of mine? He goes, no, what's it called? He didn't know my podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It was a genuine compliment.
Oh, wow.
On my skin. So I did tell him, we work with a company called Caldera, blah, blah, and sent him the link and the whole deal. But I had a guy compliment me on my skin, dude.
Wow.
I don't know. Now he was there with his buddy.
And he didn't even eat mushrooms and see you in your gold
That was you,
beauty.
dude. That's my favorite story.
You're so regal.
He said I look like a trophy.
I think same sex compliments are the most powerful, and I believe this is true for both men and women. Right? Like a woman to
You're
compliment
more likely
another
to believe it, right?
I think that's what it, right? Or there's less likely a motive or an agenda underneath it, right?
Yeah,
like if I think if a girl gets a compliment from a guy, it's just
She's like, he's hitting on me.
Yeah, he's hitting on me. That's what he wants, or like that. But if another girl compliments a girl,
that's the big myth, by the way, for dudes when they're like, "Oh, I'm going to lift weights so that girls will say things to me." 99% of the time, dudes are going to say things.
So in that, don't you find that interesting? That I think that's a really funny thing to talk about because it's so true. And I don't know any guy who actually doesn't know that. Like if especially if you've been doing it long enough. Yet we still drive, or we still tell ourselves that we're doing it for the girls.
Uh-huh.
So what is that? Like, it's like, that, what I'm saying? It's like, it's not getting any more of the girls for you, especially once you reach the level of fitness, like the difference of your 17-inch arms or 18-inch arms is not, it's not, it's
like 8% to 4%.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I definitely, because I know there's girls who are listening like, absolutely matters to me. Like, well, no, I'm not talking about like, of course, most women prefer a fit, healthy guy. I think that there's plenty of research to prove that.
But the compliments and the comments
but the difference
come from guys.
Exactly. The difference of you sculpting your physique and getting
you look jacked. You get some size in your arms, and you get like a compliment from a girl, and she'll be like, "Oh, wow, you look really skinny and lean and trim."
I hate that.
And I'm like, no,
I hate that, dude.
I'm gonna go eat a burger.
When you get lean and a girl, like a coworker or friend, will say, "Wow, you look skinny," like it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Lean is the word. Lean.
Trying to be nice.
Yeah, not skinny.
Really.
But yeah, dudes will definitely say. Speaking of dudes, Adam, you've always tried to make the case. We've talked about this several times in the podcast. We don't have to like dwell on it. I still think it's strange. I still think it's strange. And on my deathbed, I will bring this up and laugh about it. That you're like, listen. men should sit on the toilet when they pee because it's so much more less likely to get the toilet wet.
Well, now you have a poster board guy for your movement.
Will Smith made the same comment.
I saw that.
Now it's totally not connected to the fact that he's kind of a weird. And
I don't know how much I want to be.
That's your poster.
The guy's
child.
a cuck, right? I don't know if I want to be put in the same category as Will Smith.
Did you see the comment I do in the forum?
I did. I saw that.
Somebody posted
of all the people to give me to back me up on that. And by the way, we're starting to mold this into Adam says sit down and pee all the time. That's not what I said. This is at night, okay, in the middle of the night when you get up and go to the restroom. I do not sit down and pee every time I have to pee.
Just at
somehow
night.
it's morphing into that, and it's like
when the lights are off and you can't see the toilet.
Yes.
So basically, when no one sees what you're doing, this is how you want to be.
Well, it's not about people seeing
I'm just
you.
kidding,
It's about the fact that
Doug's
people
on
are
the same-
spraying the toilet seat.
Doug's on the same team.
It's like
You need a UFC fighter, to be your billboard.
Yeah,
then you'll be all right.
When the lights are off, when you've hit the toilet when you hear it hit the water.
Yes.
But before then, it's hitting the edge.
I love that Doug's
gotta-
becoming
just gotta
as
get
passionate about this
I'm
as
very
I am.
passionate about this.
because he's getting tired of walking in our restroom and seeing piss all over
there's
the toilet.
piss on the toilet.
And he knows
Broad
damn
daylight.
well that's not Adam because Adam's courtesy enough to actually go
you
lift
lift
the
your
toilet
shirt up,
sit
and-
down.
yeah,
It's like-
sit down. It's good. Yeah.
It's definitely not Adam. It's either Justin or Sal that are blindly
Who
pissing
left their
all over.
panties in the
saying this.
bathroom? We know who it is. Listen,
I'm convinced one of you two pisses like that. I have no idea. Or you
There's
guys
a lot
are
of
on the
back pressure.
phone doing something else at the same time. Or,
my comment in the forum was hilarious because it's Will Smith's quote, like, men should sit down when they pee. And I'm like, that's his favorite position when he's watching his wife have sex with other men.
oh God! Oh my God! Oh. Yeah, of all the people, I'm like, oh, that's great. But yes, I've seen more and more actually popping up. I get tagged all the time. I don't share it with you guys all the time, but there's a lot of people now saying that. But it's like, I don't know where it just came for me. Like I know that at one point,
Listen, your
I was
logic
cleaning.
makes it's logical.
Yes.
It is logical.
Yeah.
But we don't always have to do what's logical sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
I'm also this guy, and I bet you guys aren't this guy
pee
either.
outside.
Like when I'm in the daytime in the public here or any other restroom, if I even dribble on the rim, I wipe it off with toilet paper and flush.
Oh, yeah.
I clean it.
Yeah.
I clean whatever toilet.
Listen, if you see
Doug's
it,
like,
yeah.
Sure you do.
Yeah, sure.
Somebody is lying in here for sure.
There's other guys in this
Well,
building.
listen, sometimes Justin and I are like, let's see who can stand the furthest and make it in or whatever.
Yeah.
That's all fun
It's
and
more of a
games.
competition thing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, it's good stuff. Speaking of along these
Casualties
lines,
happen.
along these lines, Adam, you shared an article with me that's interesting. Viagra has been connected with better outcomes for people with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Now, is the obvious reason like it's just better blood flow? Blood flow is going to create better blood flow to the brain. Part of that's part of the problem with dementia is that. Like,
Yes.
It's pretty straightforward.
Here's what they find. So this is according to the study by, I think Oxford did the study. It said that people who took the drug sildenafil, which is Viagra, were less likely to develop Alzheimer's disease in cultured human neurons. So this is in vitro, not necessarily, but in vitro they see that this drug enhanced growth and reduced Alzheimer's biomarkers, and the findings support further investigation of this drug as a possible treatment. Now, I think it is. I think it has to do with the vasodilating effects and the health effects of nitric oxide. I think, I've said this already before on the show, I think that PDE5 inhibitors will be prescribed across the board for heart health, brain health, and just overall health because of its
Boners are great for the brain.
Now, it's funny you say that. That's the control they have to do, right? They have to look at this and say, okay, is it the Viagra? Or is it that people who are in a relationship who have more sex?
Yeah, there's so many variables.
That was doing it.
That's got to factor in.
Sure.
I mean, it can't just be one thing. So,
Sure.
but I guarantee just creating more blood flow in general. I mean, you see what that does for just recovery.
Yep.
So it would make logical sense.
It's got to be so hard to. This is the problem that I always see with a lot of studies. There's always so many variables that can contribute to whatever the study is claiming. It's like this study, do this, and this, and it proves to build this much more muscle, or it proves to do this X, Y, or Z, and it's like, well, there's other things that tend to happen when you do this. And so it's like, how do you know that didn't contribute some of that too? It's like, it's an area that makes it really
all those other chemicals, the oxytocin from being intimate with your partner, and then the serotonin and everything else.
So I think I mean, maybe, but I do think there's something to it because I've seen other studies.
I mean, what if there was a way to show that like being happy for 30 more minutes a day every single day reduces dementia? Sure. You know what I'm saying?
There are studies that show that.
So I mean, I'm sure you're pretty happy when that's flowing.
Well, so here's what's interesting because there's a lot of things that connect sildenafil to better health besides the pro-relational potential, aspects of it. One of them is that it's been shown to reduce insulin or improve insulin sensitivity. That could be the reason why it helps with things like Alzheimer's and dementia. So maybe it helps improve the uptake of glucose or increases insulin sensitivity. It's been shown to be pro-muscle health. And it's not the drug itself, it's the increased nitric oxide, which has, healthy effects. By the way, lifting weights does this better than anything. But along those lines, you're seeing a lot of athletes now supplement with Viagra and PDE5 inhibitors because of its improved.
I mean, that's been around forever.
Is there anything to the post-nut clarity sort of theory?
That's where the dementia goes away?
Yeah, it's just gone.
Wow, Grandpa.
Wow, everything just revealed itself.
You remember all that now?
Yeah.
I just hung out with your grandma.
What kind of studies do we have on like the positive effects of sex on your life? Because that does have so many positive things.
It does, but the relationship, parsing that out from just the sex and the relationship is, I would like to see that because there's a big difference, right? Than just.
Well, it requires to have a relationship in order to have sex.
Not really, not anymore. A lot of people just have sex without
Tinder stuff.
Yeah.
Would that still be considered not a relationship because it's somewhat of a relationship?
I mean,
it's just a different type of relationship.
Drinking Soylent would be a meal.
Yeah,
is it really?
Yeah, totally. The whole snack thery. Is,
well, I mean that's the spectrum, right? And so how would
would masturbating give you the same effects? Right? Would be the question. So no, it doesn't.
No,
give you the
it wouldn't.
same.
Well, no, because then you don't have the oxytocin that's happening in that situation.
There's a lot of things missing there, definitely. But anyway,
unless you have a hologram partner.
Yeah, I have a pretty cool thing. I don't mean you might have said this before on the show, Justin, but I don't know if you guys know this. Do you guys know there's like 6 or 7 nukes that we don't know the whereabouts of? Do you guys know
just
that?
lost them?
We don't know. We don't know where they're
in
at.
the ocean.
We don't know. So one of them we think's in the ocean, or 2 of them. Yeah, there's a few.
A little alarming.
I could pull up the article, and I confirmed it. I looked this up. There's like
of our own nukes.
Of our own.
Ours.
Our own.
We
nukes.
obviously sold them.
I was just gonna say
exactly.
Yes,
you don't just lose.
It's like,
yes,
that's what they tell.
I know I put it around here somewhere.
Yeah,
that's the cover story. We lost them.
Exactly. I think that's what they say. Like, oh, we don't know what happened.
Of course.
Meanwhile, they sold it to.
Otherwise,
we lost $3 trillion.
Yeah,
it's in the accounting.
And you said how many? How many are?
I think 6 or 7.
6.
Yeah. See, and they're still unaccounted for. These incidents are known as broken. First, aren't nukes big?
I think so.
Oh, that's why that movie was called Broken Arrow.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So
look at that. Who was that? That was
Christian Slater, maybe?
Yeah, I think it was Christian Slater and John Travolta.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Good memory, Doug.
Good job.
Viagra.
Doug's on Viagra.
He's got post-nut clarity right now.
Let's just say this episode is really exciting.
I mean, since 1950.
Don't hit the table.
That's actually, believe it or not, that's actually a better number than I would have guessed. From 1950 to now.
How many nukes would it be a bad number?
Well, I'm not saying bad or good. I'm just saying that I know how corrupt we are.
Oh, right.
I don't think we only sold 6 since then. That's not very many. Wow. I mean, that's less than 1 a decade. So I would think we'd be doing a lot more.
Well, how many nations have nukes? We're all like very much like paying attention to those nations.
You could actually look that up, right? I know U.S. has nukes. Obviously, Russia has nukes. China
does India
has nukes. I think India and Pakistan both have nukes. France has nukes. Italy has nukes. The UK has nukes. I don't know who else. Israel has nukes.
And
when do you think everybody has them by now?
Iran does not. Oh yeah, pull up
9 countries.
Pull them up. Let's see who's part of the club here.
Oh,
Russia,
North Korea.
U.S., China, France,
Oh,
UK, Pakistan,
North Korea?
Israel, North Korea.
That's right.
Oh, Italy didn't have nukes.
Right.
That's where those
Rocket
6
Man
nukes
is what
went.
They said, right?
To where?
North Korea.
North Korea.
Dude,
Yeah.
Italy doesn't. What's up with you Italians, huh? So far behind.
Yeah, I know. Probably because we're like, U.S. will help us or something like that. I don't know. I don't need to work out.
Great
my
Let's
wine,
love
though.
each other. Eh?
Yeah, France has got them, so I don't know. Maybe they'll help them out.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I know.
Huh.
Yeah, and then it's a big like Pakistan and India. That's a scary one.
I mean,
'cause
is
they're
any of this
bordered.
believable? I mean, is it? I mean, doesn't? I would think everybody's got them by now. You know what I'm saying?
It had to have shuffled to another nation, right? Like just whoops.
Yeah, either that or we put him somewhere we don't want anybody to know, and so we
Right.
lied about losing him.
That's more optimistic. I like that.
Like maybe it's floating
Yeah.
around, like there's a briefcase that's constantly moving. Seriously.
Or like underground, yeah, like some Area 51 type like bases we don't know about that they're just parking them there.
I mean, it could
Yeah.
be. It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was my conspiracy theory was like we're selling them,
Yeah.
or we sold them
Yeah.
to people that we didn't know. Anyway,
Who's the guy? Who's the guy who just interviewed Tucker Carlson? He does a lot of. He's an ex-military guy. I've been starting to listen.
Who
to
is
some of
that
his-
guy?
I like him though.
I like his. I don't even know his name though. I know who you're talking
Justin
about.
listens to it.
Yeah,
all
I
the time.
listen to him a lot. I know exactly what you're talking
Sean?
about. Sean.
Is it Sean? Is it?
Yeah, it
I
is
want to say it's
Sean.
Sean.
Yeah.
Sean. I want to. Can't believe I can't think of his name.
Yeah. So that is. So I've seen a lot of his clips.
I was just listening
it
to the
looks
Tucker
good.
one. Yeah, he is good. He's a great.
It's where they're sitting like leather chairs and they're in
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that you both don't listen to it every day. It's like conspiracy 101. I mean, it's like he brings
I don't got
on.
time, dude.
Well, because he's ex like it was Special Forces or
Yeah.
CIA or
Yeah, he's one or the other, right? And so he gets like ex CIA type people on there. So he gets like super like.
and they break it down.
Sean Ryan. That's
Sean
who it is.
Ryan,
Yeah, and I
okay.
do listen to him quite a bit. Yeah, he just had like a lady on there that was like CIA and had some crazy stories. So I just started listening to that podcast. But
Yeah, I thought for sure you guys would be like in that like crazy.
Along those lines, you guys see, so Hunter Biden I guess he got convicted of felony gun charges.
Oh God.
You know what's crazy about this,
I'm
about
so
him?
over talking
Well, hold
to
on.
those guys.
This part's crazy. I don't know if you know this, dude. So, you know his laptop, right? He got, and a lot of the stuff on the laptop that they found, which was real, is leaked out on the internet. It's there. It's out there. He for sure, and you can find this if you want. I don't suggest you look it up, but you can find it. For sure was engaged in sex trafficking of underage girls. There's pictures and videos and stuff that are out there with him. And I think that they're covering that up. And so they're like slapping him with this and not talking about all this other
You know what
crazy
I think
shit.
is so interesting
that's on
is
there.
that no matter
There's a
who
lot.
is the president, the opposing side who didn't want him like him always has crazy stories for the next 4 years.
What do you mean?
Always. Name a president that whoever it was, the side of people who were not for him. So if he's a Democrat, all the Republicans, if he was a Republican,
Yeah.
all the Democrats have a laundry list of, oh my God, unbelievable. I can't believe this stories. How could we let this criminal? How could we, like every single one.
I mean,
Always.
there is always something, but I've never
Always.
seen someone leaked pictures of them with underage.
Sure, maybe that exact
prostitutes.
thing, but there's always something that is so crazy corrupt and
I mean, the whole thing
unbelievable.
The whole thing's garbage, right?
I don't know. I think sometimes I think that it's like I'm not ever surprised about any of it, and it's a new thing or new horrible. Can't believe this.
It just keeps getting worse, though. It seems. It seems like it keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
I don't know. I think it all just travels faster, and we know quicker. More people know because of the internet. That's all. I think it's all the same game, same bullshit. I wouldn't even be surprised if like the whole thing's fucking mapped out before they even get into the office. Like this is we're gonna let you drop this, and then we're gonna let you drop that, and it's just like,
Adam, you just dived into the whole
just-
conspiracy pool.
yeah. I mean,
Well,
Whoa,
it's like you
what happened?
want all these consequences. I think that's the problem is we because of the internet, because of like all these leaks and all this stuff, it's like it's hard to take it all in and realize that like this was probably baked into the power structure for a long time. And now it's like, well, why aren't they going to jail? Why aren't they prosecuting? Well, they've always like been able to sort of shuffle around and kind of hide things and, strategically, like you said, like bring it up
you know
at
what?
an opportune time.
And we get played
so
like a fiddle.
we
don't
get played.
that's how I feel like we get told these stories, the ones that they want us to know. because I have people that were connected intimately to president candidates, right? That gave me and told me stuff that like I never heard ever. And it like, how did nobody talk about that?
Yeah.
Because it was like and what it was told to me was like there's unsaid rules behind the scene. Like you can't our other families that we have and so that like they're untouchable. Go after my son, go do the whatever. Like there's things that they allow that okay, we'll allow this to get out and we'll battle back and forth.
Well, there's a lot of scapegoating going on right now.
Just
the Puff Daddy, and then so it's like you got to have some fall guys.
Well, and also, like I said, we get played like a fiddle. Like good example, that girl that's going super viral on social media, Lily something is her name, and she's just she's a carbon copy of the angry leftist. You know, rah, 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 rah. It's just now on the right. It's the nerds. They're running the world now. Fuck the nerds. Yeah, I should be able to say, call people these. It's like. And then people on the right are like, I like her. What do you like about her? She's funny. It's comedy to me. But she represents the exact same shit on the other side. And the only reason why she's going viral is because she's tapping into the hate and anger on the other side the same way the left does. And so now she's all super popular. And she's like, oh, she's this, what do they call her? Trad. She's nothing. She's just this angry chick.
So the part,
bully. It's a bully.
The conversation I'm most interested in about all this stuff that I think I'm curious is more about the human behavior aspect on our part. Like a lot of like the alarmists, a lot of this stuff that I attributed to just the ability for news to travel so fast and we're connected so much through like social media platforms and stuff. We are even though it's the same game, there's a massive new element to it because of this ability for things to with the internet.
Spread quick.
You spread fakes. Like they're just you could do things now with gossip that you couldn't do before. And so what interests me the most is at what point do we all go like, okay, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is all part of their, and like at what point does it become like white noise? Like when do we all just decide like, how many presidents in a row do we have to have these types of stories go viral and we all get crazy and we all want to get mad at the other side, like to where we just finally go like, whatever.
Well, when do we take the reality show out of it, and just get back to like do a good job, and let's stick with just like what's the task at hand.
If history's any guide,
exactly,
it won't happen.
The Colosseum that was the intent of the Colosseum, right? It was literally built with that intent to distract the public, right? It was literally get them to be fighting over whose team is going to win and who's going to kill who.
Bread and circuses, is that the term? Bread and circuses.
Yeah, like
give them bread and peanuts or something.
No, I mean, free bread, and then
if we've been doing it since the beginning of time, it's just become more sophisticated now, faster, more powerful, easier to control.
What's crazy to me is that because you get leaked videos and pictures that still make a big difference now, but the AI generated images and stuff are getting so good. Maybe not this election cycle, but next election cycle, that's going to be the big thing. It's going to be like, here's a picture. Well, that's fake. Yeah. Well, no, our AI analysis says it's real. Now it's fake. And then you're not going to be able to believe shit.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. I think at what point do we all just dismiss all of it and just start to ignore it to where it becomes like it's...
Well, that's the problem, though. What's that saying? Like, you're not thinking about them, but they're thinking about you. Yeah. So you might think to yourself, none of my business, but your business is their business.
Well, it's funny too to see like how Hollywood's lost a lot of power.
Tons.
Like, especially like their A-lister like actors coming in to try to like, keep the fire going for your political party or, whatever. Like nobody cares anymore. Like I don't know, I brought this up, but there was one actor I actually like I think like however he's been depicted over the years, and I just like his movies and all that. Like, so Keanu Reeves, like, he seems like a good guy, but it's like, again, that just might be the media that they're just sort of like relaxing on him. But I was looking at, I was trying to see a bunch of music over, the summer and like try to pick out dates and all this stuff. I forgot, like, he's in a band. He's in this band called Dogstar? And he's like the bassist.
Really? Oh, so he doesn't sing?
No,
I can't imagine.
I think he does a little bit. Yeah. I'm like so curious to
I
see if
watched
they're any
Point Break
good.
last night.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, yeah.
He's the same character in every
He's
movie.
such a terrible actor. Such a-
You know
I
what,
love
though?
him though, dude. It's
You know,
like,
yes. You know what's funny about him is that there's some actors like this, like the same character each time, but then all of a sudden there's a movie that's made perfect for that.
That's why.
tell me you hate John Wick.
He's
You
a
can't.
terrible.
John Wick and The Matrix.
He's a
Yeah,
terrible actor.
perfect.
Yeah.
He's a terrible actor. That's what that you make a movie that fits his one personality. That's like that to me is like the definition of like a terrible actor.
Yeah.
Like a good actor has range, right? Like
Yeah.
you could be a villain, you could
Dude,
be
you know-
a good guy, you could have accents,
You know what-
you could be all these different
You know what
things.
Jessica made this crazy point a long time ago
Yeah.
about actors? She's like, if you think about it, they're master liars.
Yes.
She's like, they can fake feelings and being like they're the ultimate.
Why do you think
like
politicians
narcissist.
use
Exactly.
them? Like, why do you think they're the perfect?
They're the failed actors in Hollywood. They're
the
put them
perfect
on
useful
the
idiots.
politics instead.
What do they call them? Ugly actors.
Yeah,
Too ugly for Hollywood, so you're in
Yeah,
politics.
they're all the ugly rejects.
Is that what they say?
Yeah, like politicians are. I don't remember what's the saying, Doug? Is it like politicians are actors or actors too ugly to be actors or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But yeah, they're like master liars, So when they get caught doing something and they get on camera and they cry about it. I feel so bad. And everyone's like, I'm glad he came forward. And you could tell but he won an Academy Award. Of course you feel like he actually feels that way. Who knows?
Yeah.
You imagine being married to an Academy Award winning actor. Wouldn't part of you be like, huh? Are you really telling the truth here right now? I don't know if I could read this properly because
Daniel Day-Lewis.
I imagine-
he
dude.
fully immerses
I
himself.
imagine
in
there's
that.
also, you would hope that it's like this, right? Where they're like, that's your profession, that's your career, and then you're very different. Like, I mean, I'm very different home than I am here, right? I think a lot of people are. I think there's
you're not
quality.
that different.
Yes, I am.
Not that different.
I think so.
No, you don't act, dude. You're not.
Well,
No.
not acting, but I mean, like, there's a
Anybody who knows you in your real life, listens to you on the show, goes, "That's Adam."
Well,
Nobody's gonna listen to it.
if you meet me in person, you're like, okay, yeah, I'm exactly that person. I don't mean like I'm fake and then I'm like a
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
But I mean, like, I have a on-off button.
You're performing.
Yeah, there's an on-off
There's a
button.
little
Like
bit
when
of
I'm home, I turn into dad, husband. And
yeah,
I'm
but
more
that's
quiet.
That's not the
and
same,
I'm like,
dude. That's not the same, bro. This is why, like, you try and do a commercial for like Vuori. Like Vuori's one of our sponsors, and they love for us to do these commercials for them that are literally us talking about their apparel, and we love their apparel. We love it. We love the company. And when they tell us to do that, all of us are like, ugh, because it's so hard.
yeah.
It doesn't feel.
It's easier
it
for me
feels
to be
fake.
like, I'm
What do I do
wearing
with my hands?
I'm
That's
wearing
all I'm
Vuori.
saying.
I'm in Vuori right now. Are you in Vuori?
Yeah,
right now?
all of it.
Are you?
Dude, yeah, these hoochie daddy shorts. Look at these.
Oh, those are actually Vuori
Wait,
shorts.
can you
Yeah.
stand up in those?
I actually didn't know those were.
You know what I
Vuori.
like? So I have those too. They're nice.
I know you don't know the name, do you?
Wow. Did you
I don't know the name.
Did you do a butt shot just
all
now?
horrible.
Yeah. They remind me of the Meta pants, but it's the short version, and they're like nice and stretchy. And this is my new favorite version that they have. So
I actually don't have.
I've been looking for more.
I have
colors.
3 pairs of those.
Oh, you do too?
I do. I love them.
They're the
Oh, I
best.
didn't
They're the
know
best
that.
ones so far.
I have none of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah,
I have
they're
all.
like
I have all
professional
the
looking-
the core and all the
Yeah,
loot.
workout looking ones.
Yeah,
No,
more-
those
yeah.
are they look
I
like
bought these at their store when I was at Salt Lake, and saw them, and then I was like,
You
oh,
know, they have
Now,
a
and
store
I
here
know
in Santa Rosa.
you don't iron your shit. So do they stay really like wrinkle free like
Those
that?
do.
yeah.
Oh, see, so that's cool.
No, I have the
Because one of
pants.
my things I don't
I
like
definitely
about
don't
the
iron.
other shorts I have that are like that are different brands
Yeah.
is they get wrinkled really easy,
Oh,
just
no.
like slacks do. You know, so
No, theirs don't. So I have the
Oh.
slacks too. You guys have seen me wear the slacks too. You don't have to. They don't wrinkle. No, don't wrinkle.
Oh.
But anyway, the point I was going to make is they're one of our
maybe
partners.
you can
that-
look up the brand while we're talking, Doug.
Yeah, look at
That'd be
a
great.
lot of the Vuori will say to us, "Hey, we want you guys to talk about your favorite workout pants from us, shirt, whatever your choice." And so we're like, okay. And then what we have to do is we get behind the mics and act like we're on the show talking about their clothes, and all of us, him and Ha about it. It takes us 30 seconds. We all like, oh God, I got to pretend or whatever. No, dude, it's not the same as an actor. An actor's like, oh, I got to be real right now. I don't know how to do that, so I'm just going to act.
Did you see? So that's I saw the clip that Patrick Bet David just put up because I guess he interviewed Kevin Spacey. Or no,
I did.
excuse me, it's not Patrick Bet.
No, it
Pierce
was
Morgan.
Pierce Morgan.
Pierce Morgan had just interviewed him, and I guess he's going bankrupt and he's like losing like his home that
Yeah.
he's been living in.
What happened to him again? He got sued for sexual harassment or something like that.
Like pedo stuff too. I thought.
No.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I should maybe.
I think it's sexual harassment.
I think it was just
I think there was a lot of different cases against him. I don't know what was. I mean, it sucks because he was like one of my favorite actors. So that was like such a bummer to like see like an actor who you really liked. I liked his acting, right? So but I obviously don't know these people in person.
It was a guy, right? It was like a
he was like a Marine guy, and so he was basically like he just was like handling himself right next to him and like was trying to kind of.
Oh, that was what happened?
Yeah, and he was trying to kind of coerce this guy.
Interesting.
He was in the bathroom.
What was that, Doug? What shorts?
I think it's the meta shorts.
It is.
Yeah.
It
See,
is.
Meta, I was right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I like them.
I'm going to have to get a pair.
You know, this whole celebrity world with that kind of stuff is weird because, first off, I couldn't imagine having the guts to present myself like that with someone unless I got like really big signs that they were into it or whatever. I think celebrities get away with it so often that it's that one-off.
Totally.
Because they must get away with it, right?
Bro, that's like God complex where you just think you can do whatever.
Well, because you've probably done it 50 times.
Yeah.
And the other person, you know, is cool
I love
with
you
it.
in the House of Cards. What are you doing?
Yeah. You want to see my House of Cards?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that's what it was. That's interesting. I mean, supposedly he's got like all kinds of legal battles. My point, though, of bringing him up and to tie it into the conversation we're having is that a lot of the comments underneath there are just like, don't forget this guy's an actor for a living. Like, and so a lot of people
because he was crying in that interview.
Yeah, he was. He was getting really emotional about it, and like everyone's just like, yeah, this is because.
But I mean, he can make himself cry.
Yeah,
really, really effective.
Really, really well.
Yeah,
and you dramatize a conversation by pausing and. You know, like, there's definitely...
He's an expert.
Yeah, very, very good at that.
And scene.
And I would imagine, too, when you get into a interview like that, and you know, like you have PR, you're a professional, you've been doing this for 30 years.
Oh, yeah, he's not going in there without prep.
Yes, like like what's my desired outcome? They're going to put me on this thing.
I'm going to do this because I'm going
super
to
likable. Yeah,
like,
have people feel bad for me.
I mean, how could you not? How could you not be that? Like you're an actor, that's what you're doing, and you know, like you're on one of the largest stages on a show like Pierce Morgan, like millions and millions of people see you, like.
Him as Kaiser Soze was amazing. It was a great role.
Bro, he's
one of the best.
He's got a lot of great.
Why do we like that? Well, I guess we just
negotiators.
Like what? Like, I was going to say, why do we like that so much? Like, why do we place actors on such a pedestal? I guess we just like.
I don't. I've never. Athletes, never. I've always said like. They're amazing at their sport. I love watching them.
Yeah, it's like the movies.
Like I have never.
I didn't mean we.
That's why I don't even. That's why you know what too. Like I couldn't tell you a damn thing about his life. I don't know. Is he married? Does he have kids? I don't know. I do not follow celebrities' personal life.
No,
I don't give a shit.
I didn't mean we specifically.
And athletes too. Say like you know how much I like sports, and I can name everybody. Like. Yeah. I don't know anything about
it's like annoying when you find things out in real life.
I do not follow their personal life because I don't give a shit. I follow them because if it's a sport, it's because I think they're incredible at that. If they're acting, they're incredible at that. I do not even think for a minute like, oh, I bet he's a great father too.
Well, what I was going to say is, I meant we as in generally, right? I think what it is that we like. When someone can make us feel something, then we like that and we tend to seek that out. I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so when you watch a role, when someone's playing a role, like, you know, I can't help but like Sylvester Stallone because as a kid I watched Rocky and it was like such a. Well, I don't know anything about the guy.
You admire something about that person, so it's natural to want
about the character.
Yeah, but
not him.
Doesn't matter because we play in sports. That's really them playing the sport. They're not faking that.
No,
so it's like you admire what it is you admire something about them. Yeah. And that makes you want to you want to like everything about them. It's but it's not.
There's a scene in
we do the opposite in politics, right? We play identity politics where we talk all about their character, their person, so that forget what they're doing, their policies. Forget about what moves they actually make that either help this country or don't help this country.
I bet you 99% of people couldn't even tell you.
Nothing.
They don't know what they vote on.
All they know about is their personal life. It's like that's why I hate this conversation because it's like it's so irrelevant. Like, oh, he's this. Like, I don't want him in that position because of what he does with his sex life or how messed up he is. Like, I want him to go run this country like a goddamn good business. And so tell me about what he's done. Like, I'd like when you talk about the economy related to what he's doing or policy or war and what wars we're not in or what, like that stuff matters to me. But they're all, whenever someone argues with me and talks about a president, one that's either in the presidency or was.
You're like, why don't you like him? Did you hear what he said?
Yes.
About,
Right away, I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk to you. You're an idiot. The fact that that is your way of discrediting whoever the president is or not is based off of a character trait. I don't fucking care.
But Hunter Biden's he doesn't run for office or anything like that. But boy, is he a interesting. Wasn't he the guy that filmed himself with a crack pipe hanging out of his mouth going 100 and something?
Yes, so did they
60 miles an
ever
hour?
admit whose cocaine it was in
Everybody
the White
knows
House?
whose it was, dude. It had his
I
name
mean,
on
we
it.
all know. It's just like, is he gonna, now he got caught with that? Is he just gonna like, oh yeah, it was mine? Nah,
So
who cares?
Just so
Who cares?
disgusting. I know.
Yeah, no, I thought that, because RFK actually got interviewed about that. I was like, they're trying to be like, well, Trump and this and that and the other, and like Biden, this and that and the other. He's like, I don't want to get into any of the vitriol. I don't want to like get into any of this. Like here's, he just wanted to talk about like how much prices for groceries went up and gas and
I like him.
This and that and the other, like really actionable, like practical things. It's like, dude, finally somebody said something sensible.
Yeah, I like him. All right, I'm going to give a shout out again to our free training course for trainers and coaches. So we shouted out a couple times. A lot of them don't know that we have this. We have online a 3-day course. It's totally free for trainers and coaches. In there, I teach you how to close a deal, how to do a goal assessment. Adam teaches you how to forecast your business. What's the link, Doug?
mindpumptrainercourse.com.
Mindpumptrainercourse.com. Go there. It's free. It's a 3-day course. Go check it out. All right, look, probiotics have been shown in studies to improve gut health, skin health, and in some cases, reduce anxiety and depression and give people more energy. Well, not all probiotics are the same. There's a company called Seed. They are by far the best in the world. They have the leading researchers developing the best probiotic that guarantees that the bacteria gets to where it's supposed to, your colon, and it's alive. This is not dead bacteria. This is great stuff. Go check it out. This is the only probiotic that I take. Go to seed.com/mindpump. Use the code 25mindpump. Get 25% off your first month's order of Seed's Daily Symbiotic. All right, here comes the rest of the show.
First question is from James Ayers 95. If you want to add volume to focus building a certain muscle, how much sense does it make to scale back on all other muscle groups for a phase? How long would you recommend staying there before over-fatiguing the target muscle?
Not only does that make sense, that's exactly how you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
You have a total amount of volume that you train for your entire body that you find that sweet spot. And what a lot of people do, is a big mistake, is they say, oh, I want to bring up my chest or my shoulders or whatever, my glutes.
They just pile on more volume.
They just add more volume, and so they end up overtraining because it's not just about the body part, the volume on the body part, it's the total accumulated volume that the body has to deal with. So what you do, the smart way to bring up a lagging body part is to add volume to that lagging body part and take it away from other body parts. And typically what I'd recommend someone do is take it away from body parts that respond real well.
Yeah.
So if you have if your quads develop very easily, take volume off your quads and add it to the target area. But this is really the only way to successfully bring up a lagging body part, unless your total volume is below that ideal threshold. In which
the
case
only reason why I think this becomes challenging for people is we all tend to have these exercises or muscle groups that we love to train because we're good at them. They're our strengths. They look the best on us, and we have a hard time letting go a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. I can relate to this. That for me was growing up, my arms. I trained the shit out of my arms from the age of 15 till I was 30. Like that. And then when I started to work on other body parts, all I did was add the other ones on there instead of like going, hey, you know what? Like, I guess I've overdeveloped my arms. I could probably not train.
And
that
they won't
many
shrink,
sets.
by the way. You got to make sure you say that.
Not only that,
afraid that they're going to lose.
Not
you.
only that, but I got to a place where I could like almost not train arms at all because arms are secondary and they work in so many other prime movements, so they're not never getting worked. So you do a bench press, you're getting your triceps worked out. You do a row, you're getting your biceps worked out. And so I went from a guy who used to have like days dedicated to his arms, 2 or 3 days in the week where you get dedicated arms, to like eliminating arm days completely and then using all that extra volume to focus on the other muscle groups that were underdeveloped. And that was when it really started to bring up in balance. And so, I think that's the tough part is people are like, well, how much do I need to scale back? It's just like, listen, you probably have if you have an underdeveloped muscle you're trying to focus on, that obviously means you have ones that are overdeveloped. Pick one, that is probably your strength and dramatically reduce it. Cut it in half. Don't be afraid to skip it for 2 weeks in a row. It ain't going to, trust me, if it's that much overdeveloped compared to the one that's underdeveloped, you ain't going to flip-flop it in 1 week.
No.
So, and if anything, you're going to see better benefits by scaling back that volume completely since you're adding new volume.
That's right. And just to add a cherry on top, the amount of training volume that's required to maintain the muscle that you built is significantly lower than was required to build it. So again, just so you don't fear like, oh my God, I know my quads are really well developed, but I don't want them to shrink just because I'm going to work on this lagging body part. They won't shrink. You'll cut the volume in half. You're not going to lose any of your gains, but now you've opened up volume to train and target on that lagging body part, and then it'll respond.
Next question is from FJT Eggy. What's the best program for someone who typically overtrains at the gym and is about to start training for a half marathon?
Training for marathon, half marathon, definitely triathlon. Strength training is extremely beneficial, but you're very limited on how much you can do. And almost everybody I've ever worked with does too much.
Well, a half marathon is only, 13 miles?
Depends on who we're talking. Yes, but it depends on who we're talking to. In my experience.
Yeah, is this their first time running?
That's right. People that train for a half marathon are not like super seasoned endurance athletes. It's typically like, I do one every year, or I've never done one before. And it's just a lot of running. It's a lot of training for someone. And so half marathon, I would say 1 day a week of strength training or one exercise a day.
MAPS 15.
Yeah.
I think MAPS 15 is a good program for me. I also think for this type of person, it's a good thing to train. Like a person who tends to overtrain, a great exercise or a great program to work on that is MAPS 15, because it's like you get 2 exercises. That's it. And one of the hardest parts about following that program is you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
This is it. Like I could do more. And so the fact that the whole entire program is written that way, and if you follow it to a T, it will get you comfortable with that. And one of the ways it gets you comfortable with that is you see tremendous gains many times from the person who overtrains by following that. And that tends to break these people that have this idea that I need more is more. And the more I do, the more results I get. That breaks that mentality. And so, yeah, a MAPS 15 protocol is I would lean towards.
With half marathons, you probably find more overtraining with or more people who tend to overtrain in the half marathon category than in others. Even marathon, I think.
Well, just because of the point you made,
they misjudge
it attracts an
you can
runner.
get yourself to complete a half marathon by beating yourself up.
Yeah.
A marathon pushes people too hard and they typically break down and get injured. And so, like I said, I've trained a lot of people who train half marathon triathletes. I've trained some Ironman athletes. It was the half marathon clients that were typically the worst with some of this.
Yeah.
So
once a week is plenty, and then or like split it up, like Adam said with the 15 protocol. But to just emphasize, like anytime you're putting a new stress and like a lot of impact on the joints that you haven't been receiving before, you got to emphasize things like ankle mobility drills and hip mobility drills, and really incorporate that, sprinkle that in throughout the week to keep up.
Next question is from Cassandra Sieg. What are the best compound exercises? Which ones do you recommend above all else? Which ones are a waste of time?
Really? This question?
Yeah, the last one.
Like we've done episode after episode on this.
But people ask it because it's a question that new people want to fear. The last part, I think we should answer the last one first, which is which ones are a waste of time. None are a waste of time. There's actually no exercise that's a waste of time if it's applied properly and appropriately. When exercises become a waste of time is when they're the wrong exercise for the person, or it's too much volume, or it's inappropriate for the individual.
Except for those good girl, bad girl machines.
That's not a compound. That's not a compound exercise.
And which one's a waste of time? Is it just like in general, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe even those can be applied to certain situations, right?
Of course.
But best compound lifts. I mean, deadlifts, squats,
the big 5.
Overhead presses, bench presses, rows, pull-ups, dips, lunges. They're all extremely valuable exercises. And a routine that is focused around compound lifts that uses almost no isolation exercises at all would probably be better than most of the workouts that are out there with people.
Yeah, and I do want to point out, like, which ones do you recommend above all else? Here's the nuance to this question. is Sal listed the top 4 or 5, right? There's the big 4 or 5 compound lifts, which are the exact ones he just listed, which are the greatest, undebatable of all time movements. Anybody with any experience and knowledge in the space would agree to that. Now, the nuance to that is if you've been doing those 5 movements consistently forever, then almost any other 4 or 5 compound lifts that are the variations of those would be better. In other words, if you have been barbell back squatting for 4 years straight and it's always been a part of your routine and you've never front squatted, well, a front squat now becomes
or split stance.
Yeah, or a split stance squat all of a sudden becomes an incredible movement. And so that's a bit where this question is not fair to answer because it depends. It depends on what now if we got a avatar that is a brand new person, never lifted, but then I could get them to lift any lift I wanted to. And what would those 4 or 5 lifts be? It would be the 4 or 5 that Sal lifted. But if you take that exact same character who now said, okay, you told me these are the best 4 or 5 lifts. I followed those compound lifts for the last 3 years. Now, is this still true? Well, no. Now the best 4 or 5 are variations of those 4 or 5 lifts because your body has now adapted to those so well that a novel stimulus is going to reap more benefits.
Yeah,
So,
and if I were to rank them for the average person, it'd be a toss-up, but I would go squat, deadlift, overhead press, barbell row, bench press. Would probably be the ranking of which ones are going to give you the most down to which ones give you the least. But they're all super valuable. And basing your routine around those is not a bad idea for 90% of people.
And it could literally, so back to my variation point, like you could literally stick to just those 5 you listed or 4.
Yeah,
5. The 5, you could stick to those 5.
And then just do variations of
and
them.
and then every 6 months, do a variation of those 5, right? So take that movement and there's several variations of each one of those movements and follow that for 6 months. And then and then after 6 months, make another variation.
It's like a quadrant. It's just like it's a vertical press. It's a horizontal press. It's a leg specific exercise.
Hip hinge.
It's a hip hinge. Yeah, those are that's your meat on your plate, and you center everything else around that.
Now I do want to say this because I don't want to take for granted. Sometimes we answer questions and we think people know what we're talking about. A compound exercise is an exercise that utilizes 2 or more joints of the body. An isolation one is one that uses just one joint. So the ones we listed, when you look at the exercise, like, oh, there's the knee, ankle, and hip, or there's the shoulder and elbow, right? That's what it means to do a compound lift. And the reason why they're so valuable is because it trains and strengthens the body where in a way where it teaches the muscle or trains the muscles to work together. Yeah. Why is that beneficial? Because that's the way that the body is organized or designed or evolved or whatever you believe. That's the way it moves best. It doesn't move best in isolation where it's just my quads, just my hamstrings, just my lats. It works best when they all work together. And that is a skill, meaning if you train the muscles to work together, they will work together better over time. If you train the muscles in isolation, they'll work better in isolation and not so great altogether. And again, think of your regular life. When do you ever do anything in your regular day where it's an isolated kind of movement? It's not. And incidentally, activating 2 or 3 muscles with a heavy load tends to activate more muscle fibers in all of those muscles than activating just that
more
muscle.
Strength potential.
That's right. So in other words, just working my quads versus working my quads, hamstrings, glutes, calves will activate more quad by activating the other muscles. This is how the central nervous system works. So just a little explanation as to why compound lifts are so valuable.
Next question is from Vinsanity 505. When should I take creatine? I used to stack it with my pre-workout, but heard somewhere that the 2 fight for bioavailability, so you don't get the full benefits. So I switched to post-workout. Now, after hearing about all the cognitive benefits, I'm considering taking it in the morning. I typically work out either at lunch or after work. When would you suggest is the optimal time to take it?
The time you'll be most consistent.
You have to take it at the winter solstice, about 30 seconds. Now, they're splitting hairs. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the cognitive benefits. The cognitive benefits of creatine have been shown to happen like hours later. I think it's like almost 24 hours later. and then it tends to last. So it's not like you take it right before you're going to do a mental activity. It's just the fact that you're taking it that you're going to get those cognitive benefits. Same thing with the strength gains and all that stuff. Now, as far as competing bioavailability, they talk about caffeine with creatine. This is, again, splitting hairs. It's not that big of a deal, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. There is some studies that show that there's probably enhanced bioavailability if you take it post-workout versus other times. Again, this is splitting hairs. Adam actually gave the right answer before I went on, which is the time you're most likely to be consistent. So if taking your supplements first thing in the morning, you're going to most likely remember, not forget, not skip, then just do it then.
Your body's going to know what to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the thing. We get a bit arrogant sometimes with like timing and this and that. Like it's all going to work out because you did it at that time.
Yeah.
Like your body's going to utilize it, synthesize it, most effectively on its own.
I think why this gets confusing is because there's things like caffeine, which affect your central nervous system, and they have
caffeine has a very specific
has a half-life.
Yes.
It has a timing when it hits your system, and then so obviously you take a caffeine pill a half hour before you work out, and you're going to feel the benefits.
You
of
take
that
it before bed, can't sleep.
Right. Yeah. So that I understand why this can get a little confusing for people. That's not how creatine works.
No.
It elevates the levels in your body. And you consistently taking that every single day is going to keep those levels elevated. And so it doesn't really matter if it was morning, after night.
The other reason why it's confusing, Adam, is because creatine, when it first hit the market, even today, there's no, hands down, there is no supplement aside from one that fills a nutrient need, like you have an essential nutrient deficiency. Besides that, okay, there is no supplement that's even in the same universe of the category of creatine in terms of overall benefits. Nothing comes close to the overall benefits of creatine from a muscle building, recovery, cognitive benefit, health benefit, longevity benefit than creatine. Again, unless you have an essential nutrient that you're lacking and you have a supplement with it, nothing comes close to creatine. So because of that, the supplement market's always trying to find a way to differentiate itself. And so they come up with all these different, enhanced absorption. If you take it here, you do it there, whatever. Here's what you need to consider with creatine. How am I going to make myself take this consistently? That's the factor you need to focus on. What is going to get me to take this creatine consistently and not forget? That's the most important thing. Everything else doesn't make a difference at all. Look, if you like the show, we have a free guide that teaches you how to squat like a pro. So teaches squat technique and form and mobility. It's How to Squat Like a Pro guide. It's free. It's at mindpumpfree.com. You can also find us on Instagram. Justin is at mindpumpjustin. I'm at mindpumpdestefano, and Adam is at mindpumpadam.